Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. How you think about money has a big impact. It impacts how you earn money, how enjoyable you find the wealth building process, and honestly, what you feel like you can do with your money. Over the years, I've had some pretty big shifts into the way I think about personal finance. And honestly, a lot of these shifts have had ripple out effects and affected my life in a positive manner. So I thought it might be cool to go over some of these big shifts that have happened. Stopped thinking about money linearly. By this, I generally mean when you trade yourself or your time for money. If you get paid an hourly wage, you trade your time for money. The only way to increase your earnings at that point is to increase your time commitment to your job. The more hours you work, the more you earn. But if you don't work, those earnings stop. And sure, you can get a raise. That's absolutely wonderful. But even with a raise, your earnings are still tied to the number of hours you work. And for many, as their wage increases, so too does their lifestyle. Maybe it's a nicer home or nicer vacations, but this is how you end up on that proverbial treadmill where you have to keep working to cover your expenses. And I feel like it's a pretty common mentality. Regrettably, I didn't really make this shift until I was about 30 years old. Prior to that, I was an absolute worker bee, putting in far too many hours. I'm talking 60, 70, 80 hours a week. But there are a number of ways to make this shift. If you're able to, maybe you consider being paid per project rather than by time. Maybe you have an expertise in a field. Maybe you work quickly. This is a step in the right direction. Or maybe you move more towards a commission-based model. Now, are either of these approaches a perfect step away from that linear approach? No, but they are a step in the right direction. This is the model I've used for my business, and honestly, it was a huge motivator for me starting my business. But if we're being frank, the easiest, most accessible way for practically anyone to get away from this linear method is to invest in the stock market. You can get started with very small amounts of money and then just continue contributing on regular intervals through dollar cost averaging. If an investor put just $250 away every month starting in the year 1980, in 2023, they would have an account worth roughly $2.5 million. And of that, they would have only contributed about $130,000. Now that's magic. Now, the stock market did incredibly well over that time period. Will that performance repeat going forward? Who knows? But on average, the stock market has returned about 10% a year. That's how you get that exponential growth. 10% on 10% on 10%, or whatever percentage it ends up being, compounding on itself over and over again. Outside of that, you could develop a product. Digital products are great because often they're a one and done creation, but then you do have to market it to an audience. But if you have an audience and a product that solves a need, this could be a great option. Anything that's more passive with your involvement, requiring less of your time. I'm very careful in using the term passive income because if you know me, you know the only passive income I believe that is truly passive and not requiring your time is investing, as I go over in this video. So just be careful when people use the term passive income because most of them aren't real. Know your strengths. I don't know if anyone else has this issue, but I like to try and do anything and everything myself. Personal life, work life, you name it. I'm like, stack my plates high. There's nothing I can't handle. Seriously, we're doing some work around our house and I actually enrolled in a class on plastering the walls and the ceiling thinking, I can figure this out. I can do a great job. I can save us some money. Luckily, I came to my senses and unenrolled from that course and hired a pro. Sure, I could have saved us maybe $3,000, but at what cost? How long would it have taken me to learn that skill? How long would it have taken me to actually complete the task? And isn't my time better spent somewhere else? The answer is yes. Yes, it is. Doing everything yourself is not a great philosophy, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. Sure, it may seem like you're saving X amount of money, but if that task takes you away from your actual work, where you earn an income, where your skill set lies, it could actually be costing you money. Likewise in the workspace, don't be afraid to outsource. Know your strengths and your weaknesses. Outsource those weaknesses. Let other people shine in that area if that's where they have strengths. For me personally, it's building a website. This is not where I excel. It costs me too much time and, quite frankly, a lot of sanity. So I outsource that, along with other tasks that are just not in my wheelhouse. It allows me to focus on the areas where I excel. Money leads to freedom. Now, I can't really say that this was a shift in the mindset, but rather more attributed to the way I was raised. But it certainly flies in the face of conventional thought, because society and the media, they will tell you that money leads to status with all the things it allows you to buy. Think about shows like $1 Million Listing, or women wearing those shoes with the fancy red bottom, or showing off flashy handbags. But rather than simply thinking about what you can buy with money, think about the freedom it offers you in life. Freedom to take time off work, freedom to take a vacation with your family, freedom to enjoy a nice evening with friends, or on the flip side, freedom to leave a bad work environment, or freedom to leave a bad relationship. Or maybe it's just simply leaving a career you no longer enjoy and pursuing something else. Wealth is far more about creating choices in your life than it is about how many things you can buy. Optimism. I'm probably one of the most optimistic people you're ever going to meet. I try to see the good in situations. I always look for where things could go right or how things are going to get better. But I don't know if I could always say that I was like that. You see, I was raised by a mom who was stressed. She worried about anything and everything, and she passed that on to her kiddos. I remember when my brother and I were younger, we used to chug Pepto-Bismol before going to school because of our endless tummy aches. And I remember going to doctors and they would be like, "Do you feel stressed?" I'm like, "I don't know what it's like to not feel stressed, so I don't know how to answer that question." And the things I would worry about were just ridiculous life things, like other people, grades, sports, things like that. They weren't even real issues. Then fast forward, I get a brain tumor, I face paralysis, I'm dealing with real issues. And this was something I never could have ever dreamed of happening. And it was because of that that I realized practically anything and everything that I've ever really worried about never even happened. But it didn't stop me from worrying about it. And then anything that's been really bad and has actually happened, I never even saw it coming. And it's because of that that I kind of did this 180. And now I just assume that everything will always work out for the best. And if bad things happen, well, you just deal with it and it's a learning lesson and you move forward. But I truly think if you're constantly looking for the good in people, the good in situations, the better outcomes you experience, the more opportunities you create in your life. It's only money. This is something my dad has always said. It's only money. You can always make more. When I've talked on this channel about my upbringing as it pertains to personal finance, I've really only talked about my mom's side of the family or my grandparents who got me started investing and helped me to develop good personal financial habits at a very young age. And in that way, I'm very lucky. But that only paints a really small piece of the picture. You see, it would better be said that I had a very diverse financial upbringing. I had exposure, for better or worse, to a lot of different sides of money. I firsthand saw the effects of the fallout of a Ponzi scheme. That was a nightmare. Financial abuse within personal relationships, a disregard for saving and investing, significant financial loss, and watched an emergency fund literally run to zero. I remember that day vividly because I was old enough to understand what was happening. We went to the bank, we went to the emergency fund, which was held in the form of bonds in a safety deposit box. We'd done this many times before, so to me, I'm like, oh, here we go again. But on this day, my mom took out the very last bond, and I remember looking down and that box being empty, and I was like, well, what do we do now? It made for a really colorful upbringing with some really crazy stories, but I don't tend to talk about a lot of that too much, especially in the public format, because I really want to protect the people that I love and that I care about. But I can just say that I have had exposure to a lot of different sides of money. For better or worse, my dad really did have this attitude of, it's only money. You can always make more. I did not have this attitude. I had the attitude of, oh my God, save every penny, put it to work making money so that one day, hopefully, no one has control over you. It was a very scarcity-driven mindset, and you would have never found me saying oh, it's only money. Nowadays, I've shifted more to an abundance mindset. Make no mistake about it, I still save. It's just a healthy percentage of my budget. It's not every single penny out of a compulsion and a fear that it will totally be gone. I think once you gain experience, once you learn how to make money, there's a shift that happens. Once you have these skills, that's pretty powerful because no one can ever take your skills away from you. Learning to save, to invest, to manage your money, that is a skill set, and developing having that skill set can make you feel empowered. It can get you away from that scarcity mindset, because I don't care if you're 12 or if you're 42, if finances are a hot mess all around you, that is incredibly stressful and it can make for a very poor mental state. What are some of the mental shifts you've had in regard to personal finance over time? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm really curious. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.